Welcome to Chateau de Haute-Rives. We're located in Argentré, which is a small village outside of Laval. It's about an hour west of Paris on the TGV. We bought this chateau approximately a year ago and plan to do an extensive renovation. So you'll see inside there's going to be empty rooms, modern flooring, all of those things will change. So come inside, let me show you. What makes this chateau special is the outbuildings and the garden. We have a beautiful dovecote that was built in the 1500s, as well as a chapel, and we have formal French gardens as well. You'll see that later on. We're now in the foyer. So when we were originally purchasing a chateau, I was actually wanting stone stairs until I saw this one. And so with this one, we see a wooden stair. This was built in 1768, and it's a little bit peculiar to this type of a chateau, but it's absolutely beautiful. These floors are actually not original. So we're gonna change these, put in cabochon floors. You see behind me is the grand salon. My wife, Melissa, will speak to you about that later. So when you renovate a chateau that's historically important, there is the architects of France called DRAC that you have to also consult with. And they've been absolutely wonderful. We've learned a lot of the history from them. And what's great about it is they're helping us keep it into that 18th century characteristics that we want to maintain. This is, I guess, an anteroom to the dining room. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a wall, and over here, it's a laundry room. We're going to change that and make that into a butler's pantry and a walkway to go into the dining room. And we're going to have some powder rooms here as well. So when we go into the dining room, you'll see more of what I'm talking about. The dining room is going to be basically the same, except these floors are not original. They were placed here approximately 20 years ago, I think. So we're going to change these to Parquet de Versailles, and we plan to use Parquet de Versailles throughout the whole chateau, wherever DRAC will let us place them. We'll place a table, some chandeliers, tapestries, things like that. But this is interesting. So what we found out is that this room used to actually be a breezeway back in the Renaissance era. And so you can see this door goes to a sink. I believe it's called a lavabo. And it's where the hunters would come in and wash their hands. But what's really neat about this is that you can see the earlier fortifications that were placed here they're still retained. This was an outside doorway going into the rest of the chateau. The chateau was split into two. And so on the inside, you can see the hinges for the door as well. So we plan to keep all this intact. So now we're entering into the petite salon. This will actually be another living room for us. Of course, we're going to change the decoration. My wife is picking out lots of things with our designer. I think this may be green. I'm not really sure. We're going to keep the fireplace, of course, but these floors, they're going to be Parquet de Versailles throughout, large chandelier. I can't wait to see the transition that's going to come. This over here is the tower room. Now we're going to change this quite considerably. You can see it's quite stark. The Tamet tiles, these are relatively modern, so they're not historically significant. So what we're going to do is, again, put Parquet de Versailles through here, and we're changing out the fireplace, chandelier, and then we're also making this into a library. And so we're adding boiserie all along the walls. We're going to keep the exit to the gardens, and so I'm excited about the changes. So we're going up to the first floor, but the thing I like about this is that the staircase creaks. It's just wonderful. And all of these rugs are going to be changed, of course. It's sort of a mezzanine level that we're entering into now. This is actually the room that my wife and we live in because number one, it has the most furniture, and number two, it's the most comfortable. But this is not going to be our main bedroom. This again will be changed. There's going to be parquet de Versailles throughout this room, different curtains, different paint, definitely. And so our designer, Timothy, is going to help my wife pick out colors to make sure that the paneling looks in its best light. The bathrooms, these have to be changed. There's nothing wrong with these bathrooms at all whatsoever. They're very functional, but they're all about the same and they're functional. And so we're going to change them out. You can see that there's not much things in here that's historic. So we're going to renovate this. We can't use the parquet de Versailles in the bathrooms. We were going to, but DRAC said no. And they explained that in 18th century chateau, the major rooms would have parquet de Versailles, but the minor rooms wouldn't. And so to keep in that type of strategy to restore this, we're going to have to put a chevron type of parquet onto these floors. And we'll have to do that to a lot of the bathrooms. So as an American, I'm still getting used to the fact that we call the second floor the first floor. So technically, this is the first floor. You can see that this carpet, of course, will be changed. This floor here at the stairs is actually historically significant, so we'll keep this plank type flooring. And then in this room, this is going to be changed as well. So we'll still have this portion of the room, but we're going to have a walk-in closet here. And in this room, we can see that there's different size windows. So there's 2 large windows here, 2 small windows here. So that seems to tell us that there used to be a wall somewhere. So what we're going to do is take advantage of that. And we want to make every bedroom an ensuite. So we'll add a wall that goes across, and this portion of the room will become our bathroom, and this portion will remain the bedroom. We'll have a wall right here as well. This will be the closet for the other bedroom, which is on a second mezzanine level. So we can go up these stairs. These will be the stairs that lead down to the closet for this bedroom. So I call this the second mezzanine. You can see it's quite short. So we need to have some bright colors in here. My wife and Timothy, they picked out, I think, yellows for this room to make it a little bit brighter. It's kind of a fun room. It's a little bit strange. This was actually Matan's major bedroom. And so the bathroom, though, is even smaller. So we plan to have this as a guest bedroom. And the bathroom is still, you can see it's the same type of character as the other bathroom, but you have to duck your head. So you can see it basically looks like the other bathroom, which all the bathrooms look the same. So we're trying to make all the bathrooms look different. And so again, we'll have the chevron parquet in here. We'll have different coloration. We plan to have, for every sink, we're using antique commodes. And that way, it just gives it a nicer quality. But we'll have a shower, we'll have a tub, things like that. It's gonna be a lot of construction. Let's go into the other hallway. So we're coming out of the second mezzanine. If we descend these stairs, you actually go back to the first floor. This room here adjoining this bedroom is actually going to be the new laundry room. It's a bedroom right now, but we just think it works better to have it more functional as a laundry room. If we go up the stairs, it's the attic. On the first floor, back this way, are going to be 2 more bedrooms, another guest bedroom en suite and the master bedroom, which is also going to be en suite as well. And Melissa will speak to you more about that. So when we head up the stairs, one really interesting thing is the Temet tiles. You can see that these are very, very small, and typically the smaller they are, the older they are. So these are historically significant. We're going to keep these. There's 2 portions of the attic, and so I'm going to show you the smaller portion right now. So with this portion of the attic, you can see that there's not much light here. We intend to turn this into a cinema. We have 2 rooms, and these were servants' quarters. The Matans renovated one of them, and we can see that the Temet tiles are still there. It's in pretty decent shape, and so we're going to use this as an exercise room. This room, the Matans left to show what it used to look like. You can see the condition. So when we take a look in there, you can see that the ceiling is coming down. There's exposed beams. And so they left this specifically to know what shape it was when they originally found it. And I think that's fascinating. So now we're going over to the other portion of the attic. And one thing that's fascinating about this whole complex is this place has an incredible amount of history. So it was owned by some very famous families, such as the Dubelays, the Hauteforts, and it was eventually sold to Jean-Baptiste Bercé, who was the secretary to King Louis XV. He rebuilt this whole ceiling, this whole roof, and he used innovative technology. And so instead, what they were doing at the time, they were using very large beams for support, but it took away a lot of the room. Instead, they used a lot of smaller beams. They gave more room, but also was a lot cheaper to build. So my architect and builder says that this is very innovative technology at the time. When we look over here, you can see the chimney. Now, why is this important? This chimney shows us that we have access to all the other rooms, and we have other chimneys throughout the attic as well. So we're Americans. We get hot during the summer, so we need air conditioning. And so our designer is going to have us use air conditioning with the ducts being the chimneys. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. Now, this is fascinating over here because you start seeing some of the history of this building. So in the 1800s, the ceiling was modified and they put in all these windows and they made these servants' quarters. So now you can see the separation of the hallway. You can see where the walls used to be. And look at this. You can see that there's still the burns from the candles. This used to be a bedroom. Each one of these used to be bedrooms. And maybe there was a storm. They had a candle that was here. They were trying to read or get ready for the next day. And here are the burns. And you see this throughout the ceiling where they actually had these candles burning to give themselves light. Think about the stories that used to happen here and the people used to live here. It's absolutely fascinating. So before I turn this over to Melissa to let her speak about more of the rooms, let's go to the chapel. I really want you to see this. So now we're in the formal gardens, and this overlooks the chateau. I think this is the prettiest view of the chateau itself. But what's really neat about this is that this line, you can see this line of pollarded trees. At the end of it was the priest's tower. And he would walk every day to the chapel to have Mass. Another thing is that beyond that wall, in that field, is a Roman villa. And it's been verified. Now, I can't dig down into it because it's illegal, but just the history of this, 2,000 years of history, right here. Let's go to the chapel. Now, before we go into the chapel, look at this. This used to be actually a horse basin. And so they would wash the horses after the hunt. And the drainage from the garden and the horses goes into the moat. When I got out of the car, when we first came here, I was jumping up and down screaming, oh my gosh, they've got a moat. So I knew this was a special place. We come over here, and this is the chapel. Look at the size of this thing. Now, there we go. So we're entering into the chapel. The chapel was first actually built in 1530s, but it was further renovated in the 18th century. The grave that's here is quite unusual, is the Count Fitzgerald and his wife, and they were buried here. It's a fascinating history. He was a count from actually Ireland who came down to this area and took over the chateau. The walls were keeping the same, but the ceiling, you can see, has had some water damage. There's a bell tower above as well. We have to replace a few of the beams, finish the ceiling again, and the painting, though, is upsetting. In the 1970s, we think the painting was stolen. We have a picture of what it looked like, but also, at the same time, they tried to plunder the grave, and they were unsuccessful. And you can see where they put the crowbar in, trying to lift it up. So thank God it's here. So this will all be restored. So before we join Melissa, let's go see the Dovecote. The Dovecote was built originally in 1533 and is still intact from that time. The reason why they built pigeonnières or dovecotes is that they would actually raise pigeons to eat. And the amount of holes in the walls was controlled by the amount of acreage that you controlled. So this is a really large pigeonnière or dovecote, which makes it very nice. We've made this into a one-bedroom apartment for guests. So you can see this is the dovecote. It almost looks like a tower, but it is. It was actually used to raise pigeons. It's actually a lot larger than you would think. From the distance, it looks small, but when you get close to it, you'll see how large it is. So our construction's already started. We have a fireplace, which was placed quite a long time ago. The kitchenette we're changing, of course, but this is going to be a living room with a very small kitchenette that's pushed up underneath the stairs. And we have a staircase that goes up into a bedroom. So if we go up to the bedroom, we'll see that still a lot of construction is beginning. And this is what the construction will sort of look like in the main chateau. So the Parquet de Versailles has already been placed in both floors, and you can see sort of what that will look like. And it'll be the similar type floor that's in the regular chateau. We'll have a bed here, a shower, bathroom, toilet room, closet, and it should be quite cozy. Let's go to the main chateau with Melissa.
And this is our grand salon, and one of my favorite rooms because it still has its original floors. And so these floors will be staying. We plan to change the colors a little bit. I think we're going to be using some soft blues in here, and we have plans to have a double-sided couch. So we'll be able to entertain a grand amount of people facing different directions and have lots of great conversation, a room just to enjoy. This is original, so it will be staying. So we pulled the blues from out of the picture. That's how we came up with the blues, because this is an original to the chateau, and we're so happy to still have it with us. And we chose the blues that are in the artwork to complement the rest of the room that we will be changing. And just excited to see the change. And now I'm going to show you another favorite room of mine, my new laundry room. And as we approach this landing, this is to a couple new ensuite suites and to the master bedroom, which I'll show you shortly, but on to my favorite room first. My future laundry room. So We have plans to make the floor change to Parquet Versailles. And of course, I'll have my washer and dryer and all the hanging space, along with all this amazing storage that's already here for us. It's basically a dream come true for a laundry room. And I know there's not a lot of rooms to get excited about, but for me, I love a laundry room. And I will be spending many hours here, so why not have my dream laundry room? And now let's go see the rest of the suites. This bedroom is one of the bedrooms that doesn't have a bathroom already connected to it, so we've chosen to make it the whole room a bathroom, with making a doorway into the next suite. And so it'll be an ensuite with this being a beautiful bathroom. Of course, again, we'll be changing the floors along with the hallway floors. This is the connecting bedroom that will be with that ensuite bathroom. These floors, these tiles, these tomates are very old, so we will be saving these and using these again in another part of the chateau. But for now, we'll go ahead and put the parquet down, and this will become a bedroom. And this fireplace is original. It's from the 1700s, and so this is why this room was chosen to stay a bedroom, and that one was chosen to become the ensuite bathroom, so that we can highlight this old fireplace. Now let's go into the master bedroom. This is going to be our grand master bedroom. We have a lot of changes coming in here, starting with the renovation of this powder bathroom, which will just still be a powder bathroom. But the area right here you see, also we will be changing the floors, will become the master bedroom. We plan to put a wall here, and then on the other side of the wall will be a master closet, along with this extending into here, one grand master closet. You will enter through here, and then here will be our master bathroom. And we've already started purchasing a lot of fixtures for the bathroom. We have some beautiful commodes and mirrors that will be placed in these alcoves. We have plans for a beautiful tub, and so that we can sit and look out the beautiful windows into the courtyard or to the front, the gardens. So it should be beautiful when it's done. And now I'm going to show you the place that sealed the deal for Richard and I. Once we stepped into this room, we knew that this was our chateau. Let's go. I'm standing before the entrance to the cellar. One of the things we loved was this charming door. But as you enter and you go down, you will see the care in which everything was done that the Matons took in redoing the chateau when they restored it. The perfection, the care that we knew that this chateau had been loved and well taken care of and well restored. And we just knew that it was going to be our new home. The doors, I'm not sure exactly how old they are, but they are in just perfect condition and just have their own little story that they tell. But as you can see, this room was used partly for them by a wine cellar, but you can see with all the craftsmanship that was done, the care that they took in restoring this beauty. The walls, it just feels like a place that as a child you would want to hide and play down here. I've been in several chateaus, but this place just felt good to us. And even being down in the cellar just felt like a magical place, coming into another world. And we just knew we had found our home. Now let me take you into another favorite room of mine, the kitchen. This is the heart of the house for me. I love to cook, so this was really important to me. I wanted the feel of being in an old French kitchen. So we had a lot of great big plans for this. It's taken some time, and with Drac's help, they've helped us make sure that we are keeping true to the feel of the 1700s. And I think we've come to a good compromise, and I'm still going to get that kitchen, that old French kitchen, but still have all the modern amenities somewhat that I want. So one of the changes we're doing is I think we will make a stove out of the fireplace is one of the plans. Again, we're still working with DRAC to make sure we're doing everything to the highest standards and keeping with the authenticity of the times and the chateau's history. But we have plans for this to have an island, a table, and also one of the big things too, we will be changing the floors, and we have a beautiful older tile that is more fitting for the period that we will be changing. So that'll be exciting too. So it'll help add to the charm and that old French kitchen feel. So stay tuned. And then when you go into this part of the kitchen, this will be still a smaller island and some more cabinets, more like a prep kitchen that I will be able to, like, if I had a lot of people over, I would be able to, do some catering and have food in there. But most of the cooking and eating with close family will take place in this room. And so very excited to see how this comes together because, like I said, that I really want it to have that old French kitchen feel because I'm not one to eat out much. And with having the beautiful gardens, I'm hoping to grow more vegetables and just be able to just feed everybody.
So thank you for visiting our chateau with us. We're going to make another video when we're finished, hopefully in a year and a half or so. Could be sooner, could be later, but we're really excited about the changes going forward and look to see you again.